Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this amazing, magical creation, this adventure. It's going to be a 2-month adventure, more or less, where I'm going to read like so many Access Consciousness books, and I invite you to receive the energy. Whether you understand English or not, that's really like a great way to get in touch with you being an infinite being, an infinite being that is made of energy, that is energy, space, and consciousness. So I am honored and thrilled to be starting this adventure. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Brenda Montin, and I'm an Access Consciousness Facilitator, a bars facilitator, and a body process facilitator. And yeah, this creation was popping up. So let's start today. And today we're going to start reading Magic, You Are It, Be It. And let's get these things going. Okay. So, chapter 1, creating magic in your life. Contrary to what a lot of people think, magic is not about controlling or forecasting natural events. It's not about getting everything you want when you want it. And it's not about spells, rituals, and tricks. There are many metaphysical systems that teach you tricks, like blowing on people and knocking them over. Knocking people over with the breath of life and those kinds of things are very interesting. But they don't have anything to do with consciousness, and they don't have anything to do with the true magic of life, which is the ability to receive everything. The universe is an amazing, abundant place, in case you hadn't noticed. Have you ever truly looked at a tree with its leaves on? It's so outrageously abundant. You have to consider, does the universe ever spare anything? Does the universe ever say, oh, we've got a leaf shortage right now. Could you go without tree? No. The universe gives the tree everything it has to offer, and the tree receives it without reservation. And that's the magic. Magic is not about using force and effort. One of the things we will talk about in this book is learning to follow energy rather than trying to push it. Magic is not about using force and effort as a way of making things occur in your life. Years ago, Gary Douglas, the creator of Access Consciousness. So years ago, Gary, was in real estate, and I was closing one escrow per month. My escrows always closed on time. I couldn't have them close a few days late because I needed the money. I controlled, dominated, and manipulated the banks, the loan officers, the escrow officers, and the clients, and I got every escrow to close exactly when it was scheduled to close. During the 8 years I was in real estate, I think I had only 3 escrows that did not close. During this time period, I went to a real estate seminar, and the instructor asked, how many of you closed 3 escrows last year? Everybody in the class put their hand up. Then he asked, how many of you closed 6? Fewer than half of the people raised their hands. Next, he asked, how many of you closed 9? 5 people raised their hands. Finally, he asked, how many of you closed 1 or more per month? There were 2 of us. I said to myself, whoa, I thought I was a failure and I'm closing more escrows than anybody in this room. I'm cool. But I knew I did it by control. And control meant making sure that everything went exactly the way I wanted it to go. I was on top of everything. I never failed to call the escrow officer every day. I didn't know that 25% of houses that go into escrow don't close. I didn't know that 90% of the agents give the papers to the escrow officer and never talk to her again until the closing date. Huh? How can you control things if you don't talk to people every day? My point in bringing this up is to say that I was really good at control. And what I've had to learn over time is to not be in control and instead to follow the energy. Chapter Elephants. During the tsunami in Asia in 2004, there were no casualties among the elephants. Did you hear about that? Days ahead of the tsunami, the elephants got information. Something big is happening, they said. And they said, we're not going to be here for it. We're big, we're bad, we can kick anybody's ass. And guess what? We're out of here. See you later. The elephants broke all of those cute little chains that people put on them to confine them. Excuse me, I'm pulling that 3-foot stake out of the ground now. Doink, bye. Why is that? The elephants were willing to receive the information that was available. They were willing to receive what the universe was sharing with them. And they knew, I don't stand a chance against the tsunami, especially staked to the ground. Okay, we are out of here. It's tough for an elephant to swim when he's staked to the ground. Okay, chapter Magic is about receiving. Well, paragraph, not chapter. The point here is that magic is about receiving. If you have to control everything to make your life happen, how much energy does that require of you? All of it. And if you are busy controlling everything, how much does that limit what you can create and what you can receive? It limits you enormously. What most people create is based on the amount of energy they put into continually controlling things. But what if you were to create from receiving? Is there a finite amount to what you can receive? No, there isn't. You as an infinite being have the capacity to receive infinitely. And when you receive infinitely, magic can truly show up in your life. But to have the magic, you have to be willing to receive. And then paragraph, acknowledge the magic. One of the reasons people think they don't have any magic in their lives is because they discount it when it happens. They think, I wish I could have, and it shows up. What do they do then? Do they acknowledge they are creating the magic? No. They say, oh, that was just a coincidence. That was serendipitous. It just happened. They say, oh, that was a fortuitous coming together of events that were way beyond any control and it didn't have anything to do with me. They throw away the magical truth of it. Guess how much more magic shows up? We recently worked with a songwriter friend, and one of the things we asked him to do was to look back at his life and to spot all of the places when he thought about something and it showed up. Every time he spotted one of those magical incidents, we asked him to acknowledge that he had created it. When he did that, when he acknowledged the magic that he had created in the past, more and more of it started showing up in his day-to-day life. These days, when he gets together with somebody, they write a song and the next day it gets out, it gets cut. Amazing possibilities are showing up for him. This can happen for you as well. When in your life have you thought about something or said, I wish, and it showed up. In our seminars on magic, we ask participants to do this as a homework assignment. Look back over your life and write down every time you thought about something or asked for something and it showed up, as if by magic. Then, and this is important, acknowledge that it wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't a serendipitous event. It wasn't a fortuitous incident or accident. It wasn't, quote unquote, just one of those things. It was magic. You created it. Look at those times and acknowledge that you created them. Acknowledge it out loud. Okay, I created those. Wow, am I cool that I could create that? What else is truly possible? Chapter 2, oneness and creation. The infinite oneness that we truly have and are is the source of everything that we would consider magic. If you are truly able to be the oneness, to have the oneness, to create it, to generate it, and to function in it, then magical things start to show up in your life. You are one with the awareness of whatever it takes to create what you're looking for. Creation tends to be misunderstood. Creation tends to be misunderstood and gets quite a bad rep. It's not often explained in a way that people can understand it or do it. How do things get created? People say, well, you've got to do the hard work. They pit their energy against the universe and they use force and effort to make things happen. But what about the times you have created something by thinking about it and it just showed up? Wasn't that creation? People who operate from the you've got to do the hard work school of creating say, okay, I want to have a car and all I can afford is this little Toyota and I'd better not get air conditioning because that would be too much money. They put conditions on their creation. And with those conditions, they don't allow anything greater to show up. When you're in oneness, you ask, hey, universe, what are the infinite possibilities of a cool car showing up? And some nice elderly lady who's not driving anymore and whose husband just passed away tells you she has a 1,999 Buick with 6,000 miles that she will sell to you for $250. Wow, could you have ever come up with that in a million years? Well, no, not if you're using the step-by-step hard work method. We'd like you to come out of the step-by-step linear construct and into oneness in simultaneity, where instead of saying, I've got to save up for the next 25 years and then I'll have it, you ask, hey, universe, could I have this? And it's, yes, you can. Here you are. I love it. Chapter 3, the human perspective versus the humanoid perspective. We have two majorly different perspectives and ways of creating here on planet Earth. We have the human perspective and the humanoid perspective. The human perspective is that force. Force is the source of creation. Humans think you have to work hard and sweat in order to create things. This is not so for humanoids. Humanoids recognize their oneness with the universe and they don't pit themselves against it. What's different about them? Our investigation into humans and humanoids began on a trip to Nashville. I, Gary, am always trying to figure out how to help get people out of their shit and what's limiting them. And the way I do this is to walk into their space and look at the maze. I find the root out of the maze, and then I can figure out how to resolve it. Dane and I were in our seats on the plane, and two women walked down the aisle and sat down in front of us. I said, I wonder what would it take to free somebody like that? And I went into their heads. Dane said, don't go in, don't go in. But it was too late. I was in there going, and Dane had to work on me for 45 minutes to get me out of their universe. I was trying to find a way out, only there was none. Their maze was closed. The ladies took off their jackets and put them over the seats in front of them. And when the stewardess came by and said, here's your lunch, they put it in their laps. When the stewardess asked, would you like a drink? One of the ladies said, well, I have no place to put my drink. The stewardess said, put your tray table down. The lady said, I don't have a tray table. The stewardess said, see this man here sitting next to you? That thing down there, that's your tray table. The lady said, I don't have one. The stewardess said, if you will take your jacket off the back of the seat. The lady said, I'm not putting my jacket on the floor. I was going, oh shit, how did I get in here? How do I get out? It wasn't until I asked myself, okay, what's different about these people? How are they different from Dane and me and the people we work with in Access? What's different about them? Then I got it. They're so human. Doing, oh my God, we are different. We are not human. What are we? We're humanoids. I can't believe this. I've been thinking I'm human all this time, and I'm not. I'm humanoid. I got free by understanding that I wasn't one of them. It took the recognition that I wasn't like them. I have known people like that my whole life, and I had always tried to understand where they were coming from. I hadn't realized there were two species of beings on planet Earth. This was very helpful information. Humanoids look for ways to make things better. Humans live in judgment of everybody else and think that life is just the way it is and nothing is ever right. So don't even bother to think about another possibility. Humanoids, on the other hand, look for ways to make things better. If you invent things, if you search out things, if you are always looking for a better, bigger way of creating something, you're a humanoid. Humanoids are the people who create change. They create the inventions, the music, and the poetry. They create all the things that come out of a lack of satisfaction with the status quo. This is all there is. I, Gary, talked to my stepdad, who was very definitely human, after he had a heart attack. I said, Dad, what was it like for you having the heart attack? Nobody had asked him that question. He said, well, I remember having the heart attack and standing outside my body looking at it. He trailed off and then started over again. Well, I had the heart attack and then I saw them putting the electrodes on my chest. Again, he stopped mid-sentence, waited a moment, and then started over again. Well, he finally said, I had the heart attack, and then they put the electrodes on my chest and they zapped me. He could not have a reality in which he was out of his body watching these things occur. It was a great example of what happens to people when they can't have what doesn't fit their judgments of reality. His reality was that you are a body, and that's all there is. A human can never have anything that doesn't match their viewpoint. This is all there is. Humans are the people who do not believe in reincarnation. They do not believe in other possibilities. They do not believe in miracles or magic. The doctors and the lawyers and the Indian chiefs create everything. Humans create nothing. 47% of the population is humanoid, and they are the creators of everything that changes in this reality. 52% is human. And the final 1%, they will tell you about them. Humans hold on to things the way they are and never want anything to change. Have you ever been to somebody's house where they haven't changed the furniture in 30 years? Humanoids tend to judge themselves. One of the big differences between humans and humanoids is that humanoids tend to judge themselves, whereas humans judge others. You may, as a humanoid, occasionally try to judge others, but usually you only do that when trying to make yourself more like humans. Judging others is hard work for you. Most humanoids find it impossible. When they hear a judgment of someone, they say, huh? That would be important based on what? So-and-so did that? Well, maybe under certain circumstances, so would I. A human, on the other hand, will say with great certainty, no, I would never do that. Instead of sitting in judgment of others, humanoids tend to sit in judgment of themselves. They find fault with themselves. They try to figure out how to make themselves better. A human doesn't do this. A human will tell you what's wrong with you and how, if you just did things differently, or if you would just get in line with everybody else, everything would be okay. If you'd just stop doing all those weird things you do, they say, you'd be just fine. And why would you want anything better than what you've got anyway? Because this is all there is. That's pretty much their defining point of view. The idea of bringing up this humanoid thing is not about sitting in judgment of humans. It's about becoming aware that we humanoids are a different species with an infinite capacity to create magic and miracles. It's important to know this so we can let go of our propensity to judge ourselves and buy into the limited human perspective that is all around us. Chapter 4. What is living in the question? Humanoids create by living in the question. They recognize their oneness with the universe, and they know that the universe will provide infinitely if they ask, and they're willing to listen and receive. Living in the question means using questions to bypass the limited answers your mind provides. The more you live in the question, the more infinite possibilities will show up for you. You can bypass 90% of the steps that humans have to go through to create something when you are willing to have the magic and live in the question. What would it take for something to show up? When you live in the question, you ask a question to create an invitation. When you ask a question like, what would it take for something to show up? The universe will give you opportunities for that to happen. Recently, I went to take some money out of my saving account because I didn't seem to have enough money. I was saying, damn it, why don't I have enough money? I don't understand this. What's it going to take for more money to show up? It's ridiculous that I don't have enough money. What's it going to take? The next day, I took my briefcase, which I hadn't used for about 3 months, out of the closet, and there was $1,600 in cash that I had stowed away for some reason. 2 days after that, Dane and I flew to Florida, and when we got there, our friend Jill handed Dane an envelope and said, "This was with the credit card machine." Dane asked, "What is it?" She said, "Checks that were never cashed from a class you and Gary did." There were $2,000 worth of checks in it. The same day, I got a call from a lady whose credit card hadn't been charged for $1,800 worth of services. And a day later, I found a check for $500 in a drawer where I'd left it. That was the $6,000 I'd taken out of my saving account. I said, I guess I wasn't short of money. I just wasn't looking. The funny thing is, money is still flowing in. I had a lady call me today and say, "You know, that class I took a couple of months ago? They didn't charge my account for it. I'm mailing you a check." I said, "Okay, cool. How does it get any better than this?" You have to ask a question. You have to ask a question for the universe to give you an answer. You have to ask. It's no good to say, "I want more money." That only means I lack of more money. And there's no question in it. Always use a question. What would it take for something to show up? One of the great truths of the Bible is ask and you shall receive. The problem is that most people ask for limitations rather than possibilities. I've got to have this is not a question. I've got to have this is not a question. Have you ever noticed that the things you decide you've got to have end up being out of your reach for long periods of time? But when you ask, what's the possibility of something showing up? Boom! It's, wow, that was an amazing coincidence. I ran into the right person at just the right time. These so-called accidents or coincidences, these serendipitous things that happen, are not fate or destiny. They are examples of your capacity to create and manifest instantaneously. How does it get any better than this? What are the infinite possibilities? A friend of ours who is in real estate has been applying these principles and using questions like, how does it get any better than this? And what are the infinite possibilities? And lately, he's been getting calls for increasingly more expensive properties. He doesn't categorize himself in what he does. He remains open to the infinite possibilities. Most realtors categorize themselves with, "I only do single-family residences," or "I only do commercial," or "I only do this or that." The only is a linear construct of the human perspective. Humans think you have to specialize. They say things like, "If you don't specialize, nobody will do anything with you." Wrong. when you are open to the universe and the infinite possibilities, anything can happen. Stop functioning from a linear construct. In order to have the magic of your life, we have to stop functioning from a linear construct. It's not, I don't have any money, I've got to borrow some from so and so. It's, okay, so what's it going to take for the money to show up in my life? I know it's going to happen. What's it going to take for it to show up? And won't it be interesting to see how it shows up? When you use a linear construct like, oh, I've got to borrow it from somebody, you've defined and limited the only way it can come to you. What if you don't have anybody willing to loan you the money? What if they're looking to borrow it from you that particular week? But if you live in the question, you can do something different. Instead of saying, okay, I'd like to have this money, whom am I going to borrow it from? Ask, hey, what are the infinite possibilities of the money showing up in my life? Do you see how the second approach is more expansive? When you function from expansiveness and possibilities, those are what show up. The more you live in the question, the more possibilities begin to appear. We've all grown up with human points of view, which taught us that we have to function in the linearity of reality. What if that is not the truth of you? What if the truth of you is something completely different, and all you have to do is be willing to let it show up? Most people have been taught that they have to do in order to have and in order to be. So would you like to give up that crock of shit right now? Recognize that doing, being, and having can come from a totally non-linear point of view. Have you ever asked for something and it showed up a year later? Have you ever asked for something, then forgotten that you asked for it and it showed up a year later? And you said, I was thinking about this a year ago. You asked for it, and then the universe rearranged itself to have that thing show up. If you truly ask for something and know that you'll get it, it will show up for you. It's not about controlling when it shows up. It's about allowing it to show up and being willing to receive it when it does. We ask for $1 million today, and if we don't receive it by tomorrow, we figure we have failed and the asking stuff doesn't work. Or we decide we are bad at asking. Or we decide we aren't going to receive what we asked for because it didn't come instantaneously the way we thought it ought to, or from the direction we thought it had to come from. We decide the only answer we're going to get is, no, you can't have that, which is a terrible mistake. When you ask for something, the universe has to start rearranging things. You're not the only person who's asking for something, you know. So start exercising your humanoid perspective and create by living in the question. Recognize your oneness with the universe. Don't pit yourself against it. Use unlimited questions and be willing to receive the unlimited possibilities when they show up. 3 of the questions you can ask the universe are, how does it get any better than this? What are the infinite possibilities? What would it take for something to show up? And let's go to chapter 5. Magic is, drum roll, ask and receive. The simple truth of magic is ask and receive. It's very light. You ask, but you don't put a lot of attention on it, and you don't put a lot of intention on it. Attention is the point of view that you have an obstacle to overcome, so you'd better focus on it. You'd better put your attention on what you've asked for to try and make it happen. Intention is the idea that there is an obstacle that you have to overcome, so you have to use a lot of force to make it show up. Have you ever tried to create something and it wasn't showing up the way you knew damn well that it should, and you started feeling heavier and heavier? Someone might come up and say, "Hi, how are you doing?" And you'd say, get out of my way. I'm creating, go away." Something like this happened to us. We taught a series of great access seminars in Australia, and people experienced tremendous change and transformation. We were really pleased, and when we got to the airport, we decided, okay, we are such powerful creators. We deserve to ride business class on the way home. We're going to fly in business class. And notice that we weren't asking. You don't hear any haughtiness in our approach, do you? We decided we were going to fly business class and that we were going to get an upgrade. We went up to the counter and Dane said, "Hi, do you have any upgrades available for grand and glorious creators?" The answer was no. Okay, I thought. I thought I've got billions of miles on United. I decided to call United and find out how to get an upgrade from them. They said, "Sorry, you can't get an upgrade on a different carrier." We couldn't buy an upgrade. We couldn't force one with miles, and we couldn't smile and flirt into an upgrade because the people we were trying to smile and flirt with were beyond smiling and flirting. Okay, we said, we'll take our flight to Auckland, and if they have any space, maybe they'll sell us an upgrade. We might have to pay a little more, but no problem, right? They used to do this for $250. We got to Auckland and went up to the service desk, and the lady said, "No." We asked, "Why?" She said, "No." We asked, "Could we buy one?" She said, "No." We were disheartened because we had already decided that we were such grand and glorious creators that we deserved an upgrade and that we were going to get upgraded. Okay. Hello, the universe should be providing us with an upgrade. Finally, we said, wait a minute. Is there something we're not looking at here? Notice that we finally asked the question. After we heard no 800 times, we began to think, gee, there may be something we're not looking at here. We were standing around in the airport getting pissed off at the people who were getting upgraded, and suddenly we realized we're not really doing what we talked about and taught, are we? No, we're not. So what are we not looking at? Then we got it. We asked, what are the infinite possibilities of having a great trip regardless of where the heck we sit? Everything started feeling lighter all of a sudden. Once we finally got around to asking, okay, what are the infinite possibilities of having a great trip? We realized, hey, we get to hang out together the whole way home. It turned out that we got seats next to each other and there was an open seat next to us. So we had plenty of room to spread out and we had a great trip just by changing our point of view and being willing to receive what was actually being given instead of deciding that we had to receive business class upgrades to show what grand and glorious creatures we were. Have you ever decided that you had to have the equivalent of a business class upgrade? Or that you had to have your whole life unfold the way you decided that it had to, because if you didn't get it exactly the way you wanted it, it meant you were a frigging loser? Why not let go of that for a moment and think about receiving what the universe is offering you? You could be surprised. It might make you feel lighter. You might discover that you're having a much better time. Okay, Pico, we're gonna read the last chapter for today of this wonderful book. And the name of this chapter is Pico Universes versus True Creation. Have you ever heard of Walter Mitty? He was the hero of a short story about a meek, hand-packed guy with a domineering wife and a boring, loosey job. He lived in an imaginary world and created extravagant scenarios about being a daring surgeon, a heroic pilot, and a dashing naval commander. Most of us, in some way or another, are Walter Mitty's. We take a grain of sand and create entire universes about what it's going to mean and our role in it. Did you ever daydream when you were a kid? Have you ever created a whole universe that existed in your head? That's a Pico universe. It's a small private universe of your own. Every time you go into a daydream, you go into Pico universe. You don't want to be present anymore, and a Pico universe is a way of escaping the present. You decide, this is so frigging boring that I don't want to be here anymore, and off you go into the Pico universe. We create a Pico universe when we take some small event or comment and say, oh, that means we create a universe about what something is going to look like. Shortly after Gary, got divorced, I went out with a lady and we had a really good time together. I went home, and as I was standing in the shower, I was thinking, oh gosh, that was wonderful. She's really nice. I wonder what it would be like to have sex with her. I think it would be fun. I wonder if she's the one. The one? I'd been out with her once, and there I was standing in the shower, creating her as the love of my life. I was creating a Pico universe about our future together, and I didn't even know her last name. Is that a little insane or what? What if? Have you ever had the experience of getting a really great idea, deciding you wanted to create something, and in your mind going through exactly what it was going to look like? And then you never actually did anything with it? What if? What if? What if? Those are Pico universes. We create a pretense of what it's going to be. It's a form of creation. We create the whole thing in our minds. We complete it in our imaginations without ever actually doing anything. Why don't the universes we create in this way show up in the physical universe? Because we've already completed them in our heads. We've worked with a number of people who have had problems with obesity, and we found it was very effective for them to do some kind of movement. Gary, asked one lady who was obese, what kind of movement would your body like to do? She said, my body would like to dance. A couple of months later, when I saw her, she had even more weight on her body. I asked her, "What's going on?" She said, "Well, I think about dancing and I think about the music and the steps I'll do and what's it going to feel like and how great it's going to be. I never do it." I said, "Yeah, because you complete it all in your head. You create a pico universe about what it is going to be like, and you never actually do it." Is that living in the present? No. How do you stop doing Walter Mittyisms? The way you stop doing Walter Mittyisms is by not allowing yourself to create pico universes. Instead of thinking about something or imagining what it's going to be like, simply ask yourself, okay, what's this going to look like? Then you do it. Natasha, welcome. If you ask yourself, who am I today and what grand and glorious adventures am I going to have? It puts you in the state of being willing to see your life as a present time adventure instead of a future possibility. Sometimes people ask us what to do about their runaway brains. They won't allow the universe to create for them. They're trying to align with the universe and create things by living in the question, but their brains are running off in a completely different direction, constructing answers and pico universes. When that happens, you have to recognize, oh, I just went out of the question. Live in the question, not the answer. Have you created pico universes instead of creating your own life? Have you created pico universes instead of creating your own life? Everything you've done to create pico universes and all the talent and ability you have put into the creation of pico universes instead of actually being in your own life, would you destroy and uncreate it, please? It's really about being in the present. When you are willing to live in the present and you are not functioning from the past, it's harder to create pico universes. When you've got a past that tells you exactly who, what, where, when, why, and how you are, and exactly how to respond in any situation or circumstance, you start to function from rules and limitations. When they do this, I'll do this. When you have all of this stuff backed up behind you as though it's the source of creation for you, there's no such thing as living in the question. In fact, there are no questions, there are only answers. You attempt to create your life based on limited answers and limited linear points of view. Your imagination is a limitation. Even your imagination is a limitation because imagination is a function of the mind. Your imagination can only define what you already know, just as your mind can only define what you already know. Imagination cannot imagine beyond the limits of what you have already decided exists. In terms of infinite beingness and infinite knowing, perceiving, and receiving, your imagination is a limitation. It is not awareness. Imagination and awareness are sometimes confused. As a child, you may have had awarenesses about things, and your parents might have said, "Oh, that's just your imagination." They were training you to be normal, average, and real. They were training you to be sane and normal so that you would be like everybody else. It didn't work though, did it? Normal and average and real are actually huge limitations because they don't allow for the greatness of you. They don't allow for the infinite possibilities available to you in this universe. Have you ever used force and effort against yourself in order to make yourself appear normal, average, and real, just like everybody else? Would you like to give that up now, please? Who are you today and what grand and glorious adventures are you going to have? What would happen if you gave up being a Walter Mitty and began to create your life in the present rather than inhabiting the pico universes in your head? Are you ready to see your life as a present time adventure instead of a future possibility? Who are you today? And what grand and glorious adventures are you going to have? Okay, so for today, we've read like 1/3 of this amazing book. And Natasha, welcome. I'm so happy you joined. There were people joining and then going away. So if you want to catch up, I am basically live streaming on YouTube. So you can go back and listen for like, 48 hours. Yeah.
Wow, that thing with imagination is like hit me in the head, you know?
Yeah.
I'm so good at imagination, like, oh, I can do that and that and that. Is that daydreaming, basically?
Yeah, also, exactly.
Oh. And now you wonder why things don't show up in the way you imagined.
Exactly, you already like brought them into completion in your mind.
Yeah, I'll have to catch up. I don't know this. What is Pico Universe?
Yeah, I read it, like I can reread just like the definition. Okay, so the Pico universe. Okay. Okay, so they asked, did you ever daydream when you were a kid? Have you ever created a whole universe that existed in your head? That's that's a Pico universe. It's a small private universe of your own. Every time you go into a daydream, you go into a Pico universe. You don't want to be present anymore. And the Pico universe is a way of escaping the present. You decide.
Check mark.
Yeah, exactly. This is so freaking boring that I don't want to be here anymore. And off you go into the Pico universe. Yeah, basically when you like maybe are bored or something, or you want to change something and you're like, oh yeah, that like maybe you have some ideas or you daydream, and then you just remain there, like locked there, and nothing like shows up in the physical world, basically.
I wonder how many such universe do I have?
Oh my God. Let's Pokemon pod them all and choose something different.
You know, I was listening to you, and it's one thing when people say like people are afraid, like Gary was saying, people are afraid of their power.
Yeah.
And now that you are listening, like it hits like we're so freaking powerful.
Yes.
You just have to really acknowledge that.
Yes.
Wow.
Goosebumps. Yes, that's it. Like the title of this book, Magic, You Are It, Be It. And we cannot be magic and miraculous from here. It's from our head and our mind that is not really like.
I didn't read this book. I read the other ones that you mentioned, and I'm so curious what will show up, because for me, every time I listen or every time I read, it shows up something else, where I notice something else.
Yeah. Wow.
So I'm so curious what will show up.
Yes, I wonder what are the possibilities with all of these book readings that we're gonna have, like so many books, and with the consciousness, like all of access consciousness is like, wow, inviting us to claim, own, and acknowledge the magic that we are, the infinite beings with infinite perceiving, knowing, being, and receiving. And what is that going to create when we acknowledge that, like, and just leaving the question and everything. And yeah, like it was like magic. And even like rereading those parts, it was like, wow, sometimes we kind of forget, but by reading this, it can really, bring you back to magic. So
I'm so grateful for this idea, intention, willingness of this, and I hope many people will join together energy, and it's fantastic. Thank you so much for this. It's really awesome.
Thank you for receiving. That is, like I said it at the beginning of the live, it's so funny. I had this awareness like popping up a month ago or something like that. And it was popping up like, do book reading, but not like one book reading, like read all of them. And I was like, okay. And the other day I had like a download of the graphic and I was like, let's create it. Let's do it tomorrow. So here we are. It's like the entity of this creation wanted to be created and brought to the world. And yeah.
Hi, entities. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Natasha, for being here, for receiving. Yeah, I'm so honored.
So when will you have all of the? It is the same time, the same hour, or
So
you don't know yet?
I haven't chosen yet. I will, like today, I will see what pops up for next week as a date. And I will post it like a few days before the call, maybe just like tonight I will post it so you can know. Maybe it's a good thing for the calls to be around like maybe, I don't know, 6 p.m. or something, or 7, so that people maybe also are, yeah. I mean, let's see what pops up as a time as well.
I wonder what will pop up for this week after reading this. Usually when I read by myself the book, usually I tapped into things that I was delaying for purposes, like not willing to look into some bills, or maybe delay some payments or call somebody. So I'm pretty sure that they will bump this week so hard. I mean, easy. I can sense the energy already. So get ready.
Well, that's a bit like, keep me updated. Like, let me know if you want, like, private message me or in the group. Let's like bring the magic energies in there even more. And yeah, let's create and actualize, actually, because creation is so like fast. Let's actualize a different future for all of us.
Yes, happy because I recently discovered that I have shut my joy and ease, and I said I will never do that again. I will write it on the paper like a board so I can see it every time. Joy, joy, joy. I don't want to live without joy. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. What would it take for you to be willing to have way more joy than you can handle? Way more and even more and even more.
And I don't care about what other people will say anymore.
Yeah,
I've done that probably like most of us. So so
yes,
funny.
exactly. Yeah. Wow. I'm curious what all of this will create with all of our energies. Yeah. Wow.
I will go back and re-listen for the beginning. But I popped in at the right time with Pico Universes. I was like, Piccolo, what is that? Like small. It's just right what I needed to hear.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's incredible, but it's usually always like perfect timing, and it's just exactly what you need to hear, and it's all perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. And your background is awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Like you are that window, like window to the space and to the light universe.
It's like a kind of like Greece, something like that. Like it seems like Greece. I don't know, some city in, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like. I love it.
So with every book, we should take some bricks off the wall.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Wow. Natasha,
Thank
thank
you
you for your joy. Like, you're bringing joy. Like, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for you doing that, and I really receive it, and maybe I've been waiting for a long time for that. I
Wow.
don't know. I will see the difference. What is to read by myself, and maybe listening has other effect on me than reading. Maybe I associate reading with mind mind chatter. I don't know yet. But anyway, this 10 minutes that I popped in brought me so much joy and happiness. Thank you so much. And see you next time.
Thank you so much for receiving, and my pleasure. And see you next time. Have a lovely,
Bye.
wonderful evening and weekend. Have too much
The
fun.
same to you. The same to you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.